Hi everyone, it's Shelley Penney with Twisted Fish Artisan Jewelry. Today I'm with Jesse James Beads to bring you my most requested tutorial from my most popular product. Some of you know I do a line of beaded suncatchers with crystal and Czech glass beads. By far the most popular is my Dragonfly suncatcher. I'm going to be featuring a beautiful bead mix and some Czech glass from Jesse James Beads, and this is what we're going to be making. Isn't it gorgeous? So get comfortable, settle in for a great class. Let's turn this camera around and we'll get started. Okay guys, so we're here at the mat and I have opened the bead mix called Flowers Just For You. And it is absolutely gorgeous. First of all, look at this pendant. Oh my goodness, isn't that beautiful? So beautiful. Just on its, that on just a simple chain is absolutely gorgeous. You've got 4 of these sort of trapped diamonds. They sort of almost look like lockets. They're beautiful. There's 4 of those. We've got some really nice bead caps, or bead spacers, the antique gold, a little bit thicker, and then we have some of the gold thin spacers. We've got some bead caps. There's some nice little rhinestone spacers here, really tiny ones. I love those little ones. And then look at the metal here. We've got 2 beautiful butterflies. I love these bead caps. Check those out. Those almost look like a fairy dress. You know what I mean? You could do a Tinkerbell thing. That gives me an idea for something else I could do with this mix. And then you've got these beautiful links in brass. And I'm going to be putting all of this aside. I'm going to put this all back in because we're not going to need those for the Dragonfly. So I'm just going to put that all away. And I've separated out the crystal. I don't really decide what I'm going to use for crystal in the Dragonflies until I actually do it. It's always kind of a go with the flow kind of thing. And these are cute, but I think they're maybe a little bit too matte for my Dragonfly. So look at the assortment of crystals that you get in the Flowers Just For You mix. We've got these 2 beautiful big rondelles, super sparkly. These are really nice. I don't know, I might use, we'll decide, I might use, those are nice too. 4 crystal hearts that are absolutely sparkle right off the chart here. I like these cones too. I'm probably not going to, I might use them. I might use them. They're very nice. And then we've got 4 drops and all of these little crystals here. Now these are going to be perfect for our Dragonfly wings. So I really love this mix for making suncatchers because there's such a beautiful assortment. And I'm going to add to those. I've got 2 little Czech glass crystals. This one I believe is called Ash, and it's sort of a green color. I'm just going to put them there, and then I'll have to go check and see. I don't remember what these yellow ones are called, but they're really cool too. I'm just going to lay them out there. They're really beautiful too. That'll give us a nice pop of color when we're making our Dragonfly. So I'm just going to leave the crystal out. I also have, I'm wearing my my bracelet that I made out of the banana cream mini mix, and there's also some crystal in here that I made that I think I'm just going to pull out just in case I want them. You know, Jesse James Beads has so many beautiful, I love that they put so many glass crystal in their mixes because I really love the bling. I call my suncatchers window bling actually. Okay, So there's, let's see what else I've got. These little yellow ones sometimes are really quite nice. There's 2 of those. All right, maybe I'll put these out here too. That just gives me some options. I'm not going to use all of these beads in a million years, but at least now I have some options. So these were the beads that were left over out of the banana and cream, banana cream bead mix. After I made this beautiful stretch bracelet that I'm wearing, there's some beautiful beads in there too. I love these. They sort of look like little urns or vases or something. These spacers are really pretty. Okay, so I'm going to just put those aside as well. So aside from crystal, and I'm going to put this beautiful pendant away so I don't knock it off. Covers on. All right. So aside from an assortment of crystal for your dragonfly, you're going to need some wire. Now I'm using aluminum wire for the base. I like aluminum wire because it's very flexible and it doesn't work hardened. And I dislike it for the same reason. So I choose which projects I'm going to use it in. I almost always use the aluminum wire for my dragonflies because I can easily adjust and straighten the wings after I'm finished, because there's a lot of handling going on. And if I'm using a dead soft of a copper, which you can use, I just find that it's I have to be a lot more careful to not bend the copper while I'm making it, because it's harder to straighten out again. So I just use my nylon jaw pliers to sort of get a lot of the main kinks out of that. Then I've got 3 pieces of I think this is steel, or it's copper coated silver. I'm pretty sure it's steel though. At any rate, I've got 3 pieces of 26 gauge wire. One of the pieces is about 2.5 about 2 feet maybe. Let me see, 24 probably. Actually, yeah, one of them is about, I think it's about 2 feet and 4 inches. So if you go 2.5 feet, you won't go wrong with there. And then I have 2 pieces of 26 gauge that are about 15 inches long, and I've got those all pre-cut and ready to go, just as a matter of saving time. When I'm doing this, I may end up speeding through, just sort of fast forwarding through the mundane parts or the repetitious parts, because it does take me longer than an hour to make a dragonfly, and I do not want to keep you longer than an hour. So the other thing that you can use, I'm going to be using a jig today. Now this is I think this is a Thing-A-Ma-Jig, it's called. And I just ordered off of Amazon for $30 or $40, maybe $30 US. And it does the trick for my dragonflies. I have the wings spaced where I want. If you decide that you don't want to buy a jig to do them, or you're not sure, you don't have one or whatever, you can use your bail making pliers. When I first started making dragonflies, I started out using my bail making pliers, and I just drew out the dimensions right on my clipboard. I can't lift it up here now because I have my crystal laid out, but I just usually I make the body about 3 inches long, and I make the wings about 3.5 wingspan. What's this? I can tell you how wide I make them if I can find my ruler. They are, okay, so the wingspan's about 4.5 inches, and then I make the body about 3 inches. So that gives you an idea. So I'm going to just scooch this back a little bit, and I'm going to put so I can put my jig here. Maybe I can move this up a bit. There we go, so that you're in the picture. So the first thing I'm going to do, now that I've got my wire straightened, is I'm going to pick a crystal out for the head, and I'm just going to put it on. Yeah, This is why you need your nylon jaw. I didn't really check the size of the holes before I started, and I think it'll fit. I think that end of the wire was just a little bit bent. There we go. So I've got my, I've just put my wire through a little bit, and I'm going to bend it here and bend it straight there. So I'm just going to do a wrap right here. All right, so I have that right now, and I'm just going to bring this one over and wrap it around to secure it. That's one of the things about using aluminum wire, is that you can use your fingers lots of times, whereas if I was using copper or steel wire, normally I wouldn't use my fingers. I would probably use my tools to do that. So we're going to nip this and give it a little tuck with my regular pliers here. All right. All right, so now I'm going to find a bead for the tail, and I'll put the tail on the other end of the wire and slide it down. Hang on a second and I'll show you. There's a problem when you're using long pieces of wire, like a rondelle for the tail, and I'll show you why. So what I do is I don't really measure it. I've made enough of them now that I know. So I just bend it up about here, and I'm going to sort of pinch them in so they come together at the top of the rondelle here. You might want to use your tools to do it. You know, if you wanted to come in here and do this and just give it a little pinch there, you can certainly do that. I usually just use my fingers. All right, so here's what we got. And I'll fix this a little bit afterwards, but I just might want to, there we go. All right, so this is what we've got so far. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to bend it. This is going to be this piece of wire is going to be the start of the wing, so I'm just going to bend it right there at the top of at the bottom of that wrap there. Don't worry if you're bending things, because we'll be able to straighten them out afterwards. Now I have my jig set up so that, counting over from the center hole here, I have 6 of these holes on each side and one in the middle. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the 7th one is where my guy should sit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, so I need, now that I've marked that, I'm just going to put a placeholder there for a second. So the next thing you want to do is get the 2.5 foot long piece of wire that you've cut of the 26 gauge. And all I'm going to do right now is I just want to anchor this piece to the body so it stays close while I'm forming the wings on the jig. So you can do that however you want. I usually just sort of stick it in underneath there and hold it. Wrap once around so that they're here so that they're secure, and then wrap this once around the head just to hold it. I'm going to undo that later, but that's just to hold this piece in place. All right, So now I'm going to lay him in the center, like I usually like to wrap this way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so there we are. So I'm just going to hold that right there. Now I'm going to take my wire and go around the jig like so. If you pull hard and it comes off, not a big deal. You'll get the hang of using a jig. It's a little bit, it can be a little bit fussy, but you do get the hang of it. As you can see, I used to tape it down with some paper tape or painter's tape or whatever you have for tape, but I don't do that anymore because I do find I can hold it with my hands quite well. So this thumb is holding the wire right up underneath that wrap. You can see that. And then this one's going to come, and I'm going to nestle it without losing my place. I'm going to nestle that right up there. And then I'm going to take this and just sort of get a little bend there. And then I'm going to go around this way. I'm going to hold it right up underneath the stack of wires there, give it a little bend, and then I'm going to wrap around here. You'll notice that I'm sort of run my fingers over the wire to try and straighten it. All right, so I have those all stacking. I'm going to hold them stacking, and I'm going to take this and pull it down like that. All right, so I have a definite so you can see how they are. There's a definite bend in each place. All right, I can take this off of the jig now. Put the jig aside. I have this piece of wire here, and I'm going to start wrapping each of these pieces of the wing individually, so you can see how my wings are going to look when I'm finished. So when I wrap them individually because if I was to wrap them all together at the same time, then they would all bunch up. The wires all bunch up. I've tried it that way before. So my way is just to wrap them individually. All right, so I have this one wrapped. Now I'm going to wrap this one. I wrap it all in the same direction. So I'm going over sort of the right shoulder. Now I'm going to wrap this one, and you can see how they're stacking up nicely underneath there. I have to, in order to wrap this one, I got to go underneath. And hang on, I got to make sure I'm doing it right. Yep. And that one's stacking, and then this one I can just come up like that. All right. So I don't know if you caught that or not. Hopefully you did, but I just basically, you can see here how they're all wrapped individually. Okay, so you see the wings are a little wonky there. That's okay. I'm going to secure the base first, and then I will straighten out the wings. So in order to do that, I just leave this 26 gauge wire up here, just sort of hanging. I'm going to hold here, and I'm going to wrap this around the tail. All right, so holding this so that I don't pull this part of the wing out of my wrap. Do you see what I mean there? So I'm going to hold it good and tight, and I'm just going to take that and go around like that. One time around, and then I move my thumb down and hold it tight. One time around, and I just keep wrapping it until we get to the bottom. You can wrap this however you want. I just like the way that looks. And now I'm going to wrap around here. All right, and then straighten them out a little bit. Usually get 4 wraps at the bottom. Again, you can do it. You can wrap as many or as little times as you want. This is the look I like. Snip that off. And then take my flat nose pliers and just tuck in that little loose end there. like so. All right, he's coming along nicely, right? So now I'm going to wrap the other side. So we're up here like this, right? I'm going to go around the head. I don't have to wrap to secure them because they're secure, but I do want to sort of just even this look out. So I just took it, I finished at the shoulder here. I just went around the neck half, and then I'm going to go cross like this. Cross those wires there, and then I'm going to just wrap that a couple of times, maybe 3, just to give it a look. Now I've got quite a lot of wire left here, you can see. This wire is what I'm going to use to add the beads to the first wing. So I'm going to try and find a place. I want to sort of anchor this and turn it in a different direction. So I'm just going to see if I can tuck it in under those wires there, and it's going to come out right here, and I'm ready to start to wrap that wing. All right, so I'm just going to pull that down and hold it so I don't kink, and then I'm going to pull this through. I hope you can see me all right. And then it sort of wants to kink there a little bit, so I'm just going to take my pliers. You can just take your time with this part. The hardest part of this entire process is the frame. So once that's done, everything else is golden. So there we go. I just pulled that through. Now it's coming out right here. I'm ready to start wrapping that wing. So the next thing I'm going to do is just take a moment to straighten my wings out a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to take my pliers here, and I'm just going, and this is here is an example of why I like the aluminum wire for these particular Suncatchers, because I'm handling it a lot while I'm wrapping, and this is very forgiving. So I'm just all I'm doing is just sort of straightening, flattening as much as possible. We'll straighten it 100 times before we're finished, but I like to as I go try and keep it as nice looking as possible. So I think, here we go, there. I think I'm quite happy with that. I can cut this piece off that I shove through there because I'm well anchored. So I'm going to pull this out now and just tidy up that end so it's not stabbing me or getting in the way. There we go. All right, so the next thing to do now is just to decide which colors I'm going to use on my beautiful Dragonfly, which beads I'm going to put where. So I like to start up this end. I like to start up here with something really small, and I sort of like the idea of these ones here that taper. I bet you this is going to be really, so let me slide him down in there, and that looks good. Now sometimes I'll go all the way along the wing up the center, and I think I'm going to do that with the large one, just so you can see. And at the end I'm going to show you some different ways that you can do this. I'll show you some pictures of some of the ones I've done. So I'm just going to pick up a few beads. Let's say we'll pick up 4, will take us to there, and then I'm going to pick up a different color just to add a little interest here. So I have these, lots of these bicone-ish kind of things. Bicone-ish, they are sort of bicone, Oh, I love it already. If you're picking up beads and you are not sure that you like whatever you've picked up, I would recommend you just go for it and finish. I'm going to say that there are lots of times that I have finished one wing and thought, oh, I don't know if I really like that or not. And just left it. And then by the time I finished the entire thing, I was like, oh yeah, that's really beautiful. So here we are to here. I'm tempted to see what this is going to look like. Hang on. What do you think of that? I think that it's just going to see if you'll fit in there. I don't want to break any of the beads. And sometimes I need a little bit extra. Sometimes when I do this, you could just sort of pinch it together a little bit and see if you can open up enough space for the bead to go in. I love that. So I'm going to wrap it around here. When you push through, instead of taking the end and pushing it through, I always sort of push that way and then pull it, and that way my wire doesn't kink as it's pushing through. So I'm just going to come up here and wrap again around this way. Now my next bead is going to be somewhere along here, so I'm just going to wrap my wire around till I get around there. Now I get to decide what I want to do next, and I think I always have a mess of beads here by the time I'm done. Let's see if that guy will fit. That guy's not going to fit nicely, not the way I want him to. So I think I'm going to grab one of these really pretty rondelles and just see how that looks. Oh, okay, I like it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to go through here and pull out the other end, and then I'm going to secure it. So I'm going to come between these two beads right here, wrap it around, and then come up this way, and I'm in place for the next. Now sometimes I make these symmetrical and sometimes I don't. It just depends on what I'm feeling. I think that for this particular one I will, just because I feel like it. All right, so down here, now I just did what I told you not to do, but I have lots of room here to pull it through. Sort of try and get into the habit of pushing it through the way I showed you so your wire doesn't kink. So I'm going to put on another one of these rondelles here for the pattern. All right. Now sometimes I'll just sort of pull them down into place a little bit. I don't fuss too much if it isn't perfect, because the overall effect is that it doesn't need to be perfect. Now sometimes I want to just use the wire as a decorative element in the design. So I'm just going to not going to put a bead on there. I'm going to come up through, and wherever it lands we're going to go with it. All right, so I'm going to go around. You're always making sure that if you come over here, you're coming out underneath here, and that way your wire will always be secure. So you notice I push it through before I wrap it, right, is my point. All right. So now we're down into this narrow point, and I've made it even narrower because I wanted to accommodate this bead here. So we're just going to use some small beads now, and I think that I'm going to use one of these beautiful yellows. Now I have my mag eyes on because I do find that I have a little bit of eye strain as I'm making these. All right. So I could talk along now while I'm doing this. You know that the reason I started making these Suncatchers is because, you know, jewelry was kind of in a lull, and I wanted something that I could sell to my stores. I sell some jewelry and stuff in 4 stores now. 2 of them came on after I started making the Dragonflies. So if you're looking for, and no, what I was going to say was that my business just really took off after I started making these. People love them. So if you're somebody who sells at markets, or you just sell your jewelry online, these are really great, sort of make it your own. People absolutely love them. So you can find a way to make these dragonflies your own, and start making and selling them, and your peeps will love them. I know they will. All right, we're almost finished. We're almost finished one wing, I think. What else do I have here that's tiny? I want to, oh, these ones are really cute and sparkly. This bead mix has so many to choose from. It's absolutely the perfect choice for doing Suncatchers. So we're just going to tuck this one, make a little space for him in there. And I sort of, in this case, I'm going to do what I told you not to and go through this way because it's hard to bend and hold and everything while we're doing that. So you see what I mean about kinking? So you just have to watch that. If you are going to go in with that in first, you might end up having to undo a kink. All right, there we go. And okay, so I'm going to wrap around the center again, and then let's see if we can create some space here to match, since we're going symmetrical here. And you can see what I mean about handling the frame a lot. So again, the aluminum is great for my purposes because I can make space like that, pull it out, and then I can go back in with my pliers afterwards and just straighten it out a little bit. All right, so we want one of these little ones so that it matches. Oh no, it wasn't one of those, it was one of these, wasn't it? Teeny tiny little guys. All right, that'll fit there. So I think that I just want to fill in a little bit of space here with the wire again too. So I'm going to, as you can see, I've got the yellow and the green here, and I'm going to bring the wire across through that space just to give a little bit of, just to add a little bit of interest. All right. There's not enough space to go in there backwards. So I'm carefully holding this so it doesn't kink, just watching it really closely. Okay. So anyways, you know, I was going to say that if you're looking for something to sell, this is a really good thing to start. You can really improve your jewelry making skills by making these, because you're using wire and you're doing, and your beads, and you're, you know, making choices that require some creativity. And it might be a great way to sort of fill in the gap if jewelry isn't selling at the moment for you, or if you just want something a little bit different. The honest truth is that this took off to the point where I can't even keep up with the orders, and I had to start saying no. I don't like saying no. I like to be able to do as much as I can, but you know, you're only one person, so you just kind of go with the flow. Do what you can do without apologies. I kind of stressed myself out between April 7th was when I ordered my suction cups for my first Dragonflies, and I'm looking for my flat nose pliers. So April the 7th was when I like sort of made my first Dragonfly, and by Mother's Day I had sold over 100. So that gives you an idea of the frenzy. And then I thought, well, I don't really want to make Dragonflies, you know, like for the rest of my life or all the time, or whatever. I want to have myself some time. I'm just tucking that in there that I cut. I just sort of chase it around. I want to have myself some time to be able to make jewelry and take classes and, you know, stuff like that. At one point there wasn't enough time for me to do anything except make Dragonflies. Okay, so now you can see I'm just sort of straightening up here with my flat nose pliers, so I have a nice straight wing. Now these don't look real cute, do they? Right here, right now, that wire's flat. What I do is I take my little pliers and I go in and I just twist them a little bit, just to give a little bit of interest. I want this one to twist the same way, so I just turn it over and twist it the same way, and that way I have, zoop, a little bit of interest there. All right, you see how just twisting that a little bit makes it just look so different, right? Little wing veins. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Twist, go here and twist. Be careful when you're twisting that you're not twisting too hard, because you can warp your frame and that would cause you grief. All right, so we've got one done. This one's going to be beautiful. I like to have, even if I'm doing an asymmetrical pattern on my wings, I like it like on one wing. If I'm doing asymmetrical pattern on one wing, I still like to have the wings match as much as possible. So now I'm going to take one of my shorter pieces of 26 gauge wire. I've got two 26 gauge wires about 15 inches long. So one of those 15 inches is going to do this wing. So the first thing I want to do is find a space in here where I can anchor it. So just try and get in there somewhere. Usually I can sort of turn it up like that and see a little space. I want it to come out here. Actually, I'm going to straighten this up a little bit just before we start. Sort of, I like there to be some space in here when I start, so I just sort of wedge my pliers down in there and just create that space. There we go. Do you see what I mean by that? They were really close together here because I'm going to tuck that bead in there. I want there to be some space on it. So I turn that over and I'm going to see if I can find a place to anchor this up through this way. So I didn't really find a place on the other side. I did such a good job wrapping that it's sometimes if I can't, oh, I think I got it here. Hang on.
Sometimes if I can't find a way to anchor my wire going in this way, well then I'll just go in this way and pull it through. Sometimes it's easier to get through there if you go in the opposite way. There we go. Now I see it came through there, and there we go. So now I'm going to pull this all the way through. Leave a little tail. I'm going to wrap that tail here now to anchor it, and then later I will probably cut him off. So it just gives me a little bit of security while I'm beading. All right. So now I'm going to try and duplicate this. With the wrapping, and you know it's going to be, I mean, I think it would still be secure anyway, but all right, so I have that end there. I'm just going to sort of chase it around there and pinch it, make sure he's secure. Now I'm going to come back up here to these pieces and do that fancy little twist I did. Just remember which way you turn your wrist, and then turn it over and do the same thing. So down here too. And don't twist too hard so you're not pulling the frame out of whack. Now look at that, stayed fairly straight through the entire process. So I don't really have a lot of straightening up to do. And there we go. We are finished the top two. I'll be okay to cut off that little anchor tail there. All right, so we are down to the bottom two. We have one piece of 15-inch 26 gauge wire here. We're going to pull it through the bottom here if I can find some space too. That piece is still sticking out there. I'll have to, oh, there, I think I got him there. All right, we're going to see if we can get this through here, maybe. There's always a way to get it through. It's not always the way you think, but there we go. We're through. So what I'm doing is I'm just pulling him halfway, pulling this wire halfway through. And I'm going to use half for one side and half for the other, and that leaves me with less tail, no tail to cut at the end. And you know what I mean? Like nothing in the body here. Just not have to worry about another piece of wire. So I'm going to do this wing first. So this wire I'm just going to loosely wrap around here a couple times to keep it out of the way. And now we get to decide what color we want the bottom wings to be. And I almost always, you know, do them a little bit differently. So I think I'm going to go with some yellows on the bottom. Pull in a little bit more of that beautiful yellow color. If he goes up over the body like that, it doesn't matter, except I do think I'm going to go through to the other side, because these guys were started on this side, so I think I want to be consistent. There we go. All right, so we have for there, I'm going to push them down and make you can't really see what I'm doing. I'm sort of pushing this down here a bit to make some space at the base. I want the beads to sit as close to the bottom as they can, still fit inside the wing. So I'm going to do that. All right. Now I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do that, and then I'm going to tie off to the side. I did 2 wraps. I'm going to come around here. I'm going to show you a different way of doing wings sometimes that I do. There, make a little circle. Come up this way. If you guys watched, if you saw Neely at one of the great bead extravaganzas, I think the last one, he did a project called Seaside Santorini. I think I'm saying that correctly. And he sort of did this little thing with the wires where he made circles and added beads, and it was really, really beautiful. So I kind of got the idea from that to do this sort of fun, random kind of wrapping, and just sort of putting beads on wherever I feel like putting beads on, which is really fun. You know, sort of the freedom of just almost feel like I'm scribbling with wire and beads. You know, so, and then just sort of go where the wire takes me. I actually think, you know what, I put one guy there. Wouldn't it be nice? I wonder. What do you think? The heart, the thing about the heart, I'm just going to see. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go with it. And then that wing looks like it could be done. That's pretty cool. What do you think? I like it. So I had no intention of using that heart, but you know what? Sometimes you just got to go with it. I love it. It's beautiful. So I think I'm going to come back down here a little bit. And I think I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to go through this loop here just to create a little bit of, oh, there. Just to create a little wire interest there. Do you see what I did there? And then I'm just going to wrap here. So I hardly used any beads at all for the wing, or really for the whole piece. Doesn't take a whole lot of beads to make something really beautiful and sparkly. All right, I'm gonna I'm not sure I even have to pinch that. There we go. All right, so we can unwrap this and do the same thing on the other side. I'm just going to take my nylon jaw and just sort of take some of the kinks out of that a little bit. There we go. Okay, so we push this through. Start on that side with 4 yellows. So if you guys follow my Facebook feed, if you befriend me on Facebook, then you will know that I am also an avid gardener. I have a huge garden in a greenhouse, and so with gardening and beading, here's what you get. You get, you know, dirt. You get some nails without nail polish. You get dirt between the fingers. I harvested some carrots today and took them over to my kids, and I harvested my garlic today, and then I drove over to my son's house and delivered some fresh carrots, because you know they're 30 and they can't eat properly unless mommy feeds them. They're always your children. So anyways, I always say, you know, my hands have 2 seasons. There's pretty, and there's garden fingers. And that's about it. Anyways, do any of you out there like to garden? I love it. It's one of my passions. And you know what? It sort of helps me to get out of my head, if you know what I mean. Gardening is kind of like beading to me in that way. It's almost like therapy, where you can just sort of lose yourself in the beautiful or in nature, and just sort of go where it takes you, if that makes sense. I like, my mind wanders. It's almost like it helps to I don't want to say free my mind, but just empty it. Just all the troubles melt away when you're sort of digging in the dirt and watching things grow. And I find the same thing with beautiful beads, is that when you're creating something, everything just sort of fades into the distance and you create. Anyways, I'd love to know what you guys all grow if you do garden. I started working with mushrooms recently, and that was kind of fun. Now, some of those really tiny little these ones I'm looking for. Oh yeah, there we go. Anyway, I just started growing mushrooms, and that's really fun. Something that not a lot of people do, so it's really been an interesting hobby. Last year was my first year. Now, this one, I'm going to have to scooch everything down just a little bit to have some space for the heart there, but I really love that. And then we're almost done. So what I did here was, let's see, I came down on this side and I went through that way. So like I said, it doesn't have to be identical, but I do like to sort of, if I'm creating with a little bit of a pattern, then I like to continue in that way. Do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to come up here and wrap it. All right, we're done. So, look how beautiful he is, guys. Let me just move this aside here. I'm going to tell you what I do now, just to make sure that the wings are relatively straight. They're never 100% straight, and that's okay with me. I'm going to just, I don't like the way this loop is kind of like that, so we're just going to tuck him in there. There we go. So what I do now with this guy, look at how beautiful and sparkly that is. Oh, okay. So what I do is I get some Fireline and I'll put it through the wing hole right here so that he's hanging on his side like that. And I loop it up, tie a knot, and then hang it on a suction cup with a hook that you can get at any department store, hardware stores. Hardware stores here sell those little suction cups for like $1.50 or $1 even. They're not very expensive. And you've got a beautiful ornament Suncatcher that you can hang in your window, and the colors are absolutely stunning. I'm going to post this picture as well as some other pictures of ones that I have made in the past, so you can see some of the different designs. I hope you have a lot of fun with that. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to follow me, I have a business called Twisted Fish, and fish is spelled P-H-I-S-H. And I post all of my jewelry there. I don't sell beads or kits. I sell mostly finished jewelry and sun catchers. And I'm just starting up my YouTube channel, Twisted Fish Artisan Jewelry. And so I'd love it if you guys wanted to follow me there too. And let me know if there's something else that you'd like to see. I have done all kinds of different sun catchers. I do dogs and cats, and I've done dolphin. I've done some forget-me-not flowers with bees in them from Jesse James Beads, and all kinds of beautiful jewelry, all kinds of beautiful jewelry. So if you like it, give me some thumbs up, follow me, and don't forget that all of these supplies are available at Jesse James Beads, where you can make beautiful things. Have an awesome day.